This video is aimed at individuals who have asylee or refugee status. That is, for people who have been interviewed by a U.S. government officer who has found that either they or an immediate family member has been persecuted or is afraid that they will be persecuted if they return to their country. This includes people who were in refugee camps. At this point, you have already submitted either an I-589 or an I-590 to the government. The I-589 is the form requesting asylum in the United States. The I-590 is for requesting refugee status. You may have had an attorney or resettlement organization assist you with your form. You may not remember at this point the details of what you wrote in your form or said at your interview. That is okay. One of these forms must have been approved for you to currently have asylum or refugee status. You may have also already submitted or be planning to submit an application for a green card. That form is called an I-485. This video is for asylees and refugees whose green card applications have not yet been approved. First, we will describe the government's re-interview policy based on what it has said and the few re-interviews that have already taken place. Then, we will discuss some strategies for preparing for re-interview. And finally, we will talk about the possibility of immigration detention, particularly how you can protect yourself and your family if you are detained. What is a re-interview? On November 20th, 2025, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services told immigration officers to perform second interviews for all refugees admitted between January 20th, 2021 and February 20th, 2025. They also instructed for them to keep green card applications filed by refugees on hold. This situation could change, but under the current policy, we would expect for all refugees to need to attend interviews regarding their refugee applications before they are able to obtain green cards. What is the purpose of this interview? The government has stated that it will re-interview refugees to determine whether they met the legal definition of refugee at the time of admission and whether any legal issues were properly addressed. On January 1st, 2026, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services published a memo stating that USCIS will require review of all approved applications by people born in the 39 countries subject to the travel ban. Those countries are listed on the next slide. Decisions on nearly all USCIS applications paused for this group. We do not know what exactly this review will involve. The government has suggested that it will involve a re-interview in some cases. This is a list of the countries subject to either a partial or full travel ban. This list is current as of February 13th, 2026. This list may change at a later date. Please consult with your attorney if you have any questions about whether this policy affects you. What is the purpose of this re-interview? The government has stated that it will review approved applications to determine whether the non-citizen raises any national security concerns. In the case of an asylee, they may also seek to determine if the information in your asylum application is true and whether you still qualify for asylum today. What will they ask at the interview? There is no standard list of questions. We expect that the topics will be similar to the interview you originally had when you applied for refugee status or asylum. We expect that they will ask about the information in your application for refugee status and asylum to verify that it is truthful and accurate. They will also likely ask about the reasons why you cannot return to your country of citizenship and any possible reasons why you should not be admitted to the United States, such as criminal history and national security concerns. Even if you were granted a waiver previously, they may ask about these topics again. If you have filed a green card application, the government may hold a single interview that will cover both your green card and your previous application for asylum or refugee status. In that case, the government will ask you some questions about the reasons why you were forced to leave your country of citizenship, and then it will ask other questions to determine whether you currently qualify for a green card. It is important to be prepared for both types of questions. The government may schedule you for an interview at any time. It's very important for you to inform your attorney right away if you receive any notice from the government. Now, we will talk about how you can prepare for this type of interview. First and foremost, it is important for you to have the name and contact information for the attorney who is handling your case. Second, you will want to obtain a copy of the application you filed to gain asylum or refugee status in the United States. That will usually be called either an I-589 or an I-590. If you have filed a copy of Form I-485, you will want to get a copy of that as well. Once you have received your application, review your answers on the form carefully. In many cases, these forms will have been filled out a long time ago, possibly with assistance. This may make the details difficult to remember. Please consult with your attorney for assistance in understanding these documents. It is also a good idea to think now about some of the answers you would give if you were asked these questions again now. That will help you give clear answers in the event that you get nervous during the interview. Some of the most important questions have to do with the reason why you applied for asylum or refugee status, or if you gained your status because of your relationship to a spouse or parent, why did your relative apply for asylum or refugee status? For instance, why did you or your family flee your country of citizenship? What harm did you suffer there? Why would it be unsafe for you to return now? We recommend preparing a short answer of just a few sentences to these questions in advance. You can provide more detail if the officer requests it. The officer may also ask you questions that have to do with past activities that can make a person ineligible for status in the United States. Examples of these questions include, have you ever been arrested and/or accused of a crime? Have you ever worked for the military, police, or a prison? Have you ever been forced to interact with an armed group? Have you ever participated in prostitution? Have you ever had citizenship or permanent lawful status in another country? It is also helpful to think through how you would respond to these questions as well. Generally, you want to listen carefully to these questions and keep your answers short. It is important to be truthful and not only to say what you think the officer wants to hear. Remember that some version of these questions would have been asked on your initial application for asylum and refugee status. An officer has already evaluated your responses and approved your application. It is important to answer truthfully now so that your answers will be consistent. Only answer the question that is asked and do not provide additional information unless you are asked. If you have any concerns about your answers to these questions, talk to your attorney. Whatever the government asks, you should be truthful, take your time, listen carefully to all questions, and answer only what is asked. Lastly, we know many clients have questions about the possibility of detention. We are still seeing large numbers of people detained by immigration enforcement. It is safest to be prepared. If you or a family member are detained, call the ICIRR Family Support Hotline at 1-855-435-7693. Unfortunately, we are aware of the government detaining a significant number of individuals in lawful status. It is possible that you may be detained despite your lawful status as an asylee or refugee. That doesn't mean it is likely to happen to you, but it does mean that you should be prepared. You should make any necessary preparations for the safety of yourself and your loved ones in case you are detained. And you should be prepared for the possibility that your re-interview might occur in detention. Make a safety plan. Pick a trusted person who can act as an emergency contact. This person should have access to your immigration documents. If you have young children, you should identify someone who can take care of them while you are detained. This person should have your written permission to pick your child up from school. You may also want to give them written permission to make medical decisions on your child's behalf. Your emergency contact should also have your attorney's contact information. Make copies of your immigration documents. You should carry copies of your I-94, EAD, and any other proof of your refugee or asylee status with you at all times. Make sure that your trusted person also has a copy of these documents. Try to memorize your attorney's number and any other important phone numbers. You will not be able to access your possessions in detention. Consider downloading Ready Now. This is a free app that allows you to securely contact people if you are detained. You can save your emergency contacts and attorney's information in the app right now. That way, you will only need to press a button to alert them in the event you are detained. The website for downloading the app is on the screen, readynowapp.org. Do not sign anything. The government may ask you to sign documents in detention. These documents can be very important. In some cases, they ask people to sign to give up their legal cases and accept deportation. You should not sign anything unless your attorney has reviewed it and advised you about its contents. Tell the officer if you don't understand English. Insist on having access to an interpreter in your best language. Demand to speak to your attorney. You have a right to representation. You should demand that your attorney attend any interview. If you have not already received and reviewed your I-589 or I-590, request a copy from the government prior to any interview. I understand that re-interviews and possible detention are stressful to think about. To be clear, we do not know yet how the government will be proceeding with your case, but it is important to be prepared. On the screen, you will find links to a page with further information and resources regarding immigration enforcement and detention. There is a drop-down menu in the upper right corner where you can select your language. www.illinoisimmigrationinfo.org. Below, we have listed the link for NIJC's website and where to find us on social media.